and welcome back to the Oily Life. My name is Tanya, and today I'm going to be sharing a melt and pour soap project with you. It's a lemon poppy seed melt and pour soap, and I'm using a suspending base. I haven't tried one before and thought it would be kind of fun just to try out to help suspend the poppy seeds in the soap better. If you've made like a poppy seed or any sort of soap with like a additive like walnut shell or salts or things like that, you'll know that they can oftentimes in melt and pour sink. So the suspending base is supposed to help keep them dispersed throughout the soap better. So I thought we'd give it a try today and take you along with me. So I'm going to do the soap in 2 layers, a bottom crust layer, which I know there's not a crust on a lemon poppy seed, but I just wanted to kind of have a different textural element in it. So for the crust portion, I'm going to be using oatmeal melt and pour. And then for the main part of the soap, I'm using the suspension base with some poppy seeds in it and some yellow coloring. It'll be, of course, scented with lemon essential oil because we're doing lemon poppy seed. So we're going to start off with our crust. So I'm going to go ahead and get this melted down in 30-second intervals until it's completely melted and into my mold. All right, so I have my oatmeal melt and pour base all melted down here. I'm just going to give it a stir to make sure there's not any lumps, which it's looking good there. And now I'm going to be making 3 soaps today, and I'm just going to pour a little bit in the bottom of each of 3 of the cavities of my mold. Just get it covered up nicely there. And I know some people kind of scoff at melt and pour, but don't ever let anyone do that to you. Melt and pour soap making is real soap making. There's no shame in the melt and pour game. You're still taking something and transforming it into a new product. So even if you're using that base, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. No one's going to tell like someone who makes jewelry that they didn't really make a piece of jewelry because, you know, they used beads that were already made, or a cake maker, and no one's going to tell them they didn't, you know, design or decorate the cake because they use pre-bought fondant. So don't let anyone poo-poo on your melt and pour soap and say it's not real soap making. Even if you're selling it, it's still real soap making, and you should be proud of whatever you create, no matter what. So that's my little rant on melt and pour. Lots of soap makers do sell melt and pour products. I know Katie Carson over at Royalty Soaps, her diamond line is all melt and pour soap. So there's nothing wrong with a melt and pour soap. All right, so I'm going to let this set up till it starts to be firm and it's cooled down, and then we'll move on to our next layer. All right, now that this has gotten firm to the touch, I'm going to go ahead and start melting down the suspension base. I also have a little bit of yellow soap colorant in there. I just used one of the color blocks. If you're not familiar with color blocks, they're really nice because it's pre-colored melt and pour soap, and you just cut off a little chunk of it and you can put it in to color your soap base whatever color you would like it. It just makes it disperse a little easier than a mica does sometimes, so I've really enjoyed using the color blocks. I know you can get them at Nurture Soap, Brambleberry has them, I believe Wholesale Supplies Plus has them. So any of those bigger soap suppliers should have them. I'm not sure if you can get them on Amazon or not. I'll check, and if I find any, I'll put a link down below in the description box. But as I said, I'm just going to get this heated up in 30-second intervals, and then once it's completely melted, we'll be right back. All right, so I have everything melted down, and I'm just giving it a quick stir to get the yellow incorporated a little bit better. We are going to want this to cool down some before we pour it into the mold. Adding our poppy seeds and our lemon essential oil will help with that, and just continuing to stir it. If we pour it in when it's too warm, it'll melt our base layer. So then, you know, you're not going to have those nice layers at that point. Not the end of the world, but for what I'm going for, I do want it to stay in 2 different layers. All right, I think we got all the chunks out there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and pour in the poppy seeds. This is a tablespoon here. And then I'm going to put in 30 to 40 drops of lemon essential oil. And now we're just gonna give it a quick stir to get everything mixed together. And I can definitely tell it's suspending it a lot better than a traditional melt and pour base does. So pretty excited to see how this turns out. And I love the smell of lemon. Lemon's one of my favorite essential oils, just for the, not only how many cleansing properties and things like that it has, but it has just such a bright, uplifting aroma. And it sticks around pretty well in soap for citrus oil. The poppy seeds will give this a little bit of exfoliating power, which will be nice. You could do less poppy seeds. A tablespoon might have been overkill, but that's what I did, so that's what we're going with. I think it'll still be fine. Now, ideally, you're going to want this to be around 120 degrees before you pour it on top of your other layer. I'm at 124 right now, so I'm going to let it cool down just a little more. If you don't have any way to measure the temperature, that is okay. If this is firm to the touch or firmer to the touch, it doesn't have to be completely set up. And this, you can tell that it's cooled down, like it's just warm to the touch, or it's starting to form a little bit of a film on the top, then you should be good. Like I said, worst case scenario, you end up breaking through the bottom layer, but that's not the end of the world. But if you do have any way to take the temperature of the soap, that's the best way. All right, temperature-wise, we're looking good. So now what I'm gonna do next is I'm just gonna spray the top of my the layer I already have in the mold with rubbing alcohol. That helps the 2 layers adhere to each other better. Otherwise, sometimes if you don't do this step and you pour a layered melt and pour soap, the layers can separate once they've hardened up. But typically, if you spray it with the rubbing alcohol, it lets them bind together better. So just a quick spritz here. Then one more good stir. It does look like it's suspending pretty well, so far really happy with how it looks. And then I'm just gonna spritz the top again with the rubbing alcohol. That'll break any air bubbles that might have formed. There we go. All right, and then now all we have to do is try to be patient and wait for the soap to set up completely. Typically for this size mold, they're 4-ounce bars. It takes about 4 hours for it to completely cool and set up. Now you can try to speed that up a little bit. Some people will put it in the refrigerator or freezer, but I find you end up having less soap sweat or glycerin dew if you just let it cool off naturally. So that's what I'm gonna do, and then we'll come back and unmold. All right, and we are back to unmold the lemon poppy seed bars. Now these set up way quicker than I thought they were going to. It took them probably about 2.5 to 3 hours, and they were completely cooled down and set. I don't know if that's because of the suspension base. I'm assuming so. It seems to set up really quickly. And as you can see, it kept the poppy seeds all throughout, so that's really nice. And then we got that crust layer on the bottom, which I think turned out really well. So pretty happy with how these turned out. The suspension base, that could open up a lot of different possibilities for you to do. and just make your pours more even on your soaps. And I think the tablespoon ended up being just fine since it stayed suspended throughout the soap. Yeah, so overall, very happy with how these turned out. The layers look good. They smell amazing. And yeah, I'll definitely be using this base again. I'll of course have everything I used today and the recipe linked down in the description box for you. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I will catch you in my next video. Bye!